Starseed, you did not arrive here by chance. Tonight, as the veil between worlds silently dissolves, a flow of light traverses entire dimensions to reach your heart. The source is pronouncing your name in frequencies that cannot be heard with the ears, but only felt by the awakened soul. You were drawn here because something within you already knew this moment was written, that your activation would not be delayed one more time. The Arcturian Council has already begun the transmission. There are codes being released now, as if they were particles of light dancing in the air, touching every cell of your spirit. These codes don't come to give you something external, but to remind you of what you always have been, a cosmic being, seated on Earth to fulfill a mission of light. You can feel this deep in your chest, that gentle vibration, almost like a distant call that approaches and takes form. Don't ignore this call. It is not a coincidence. It is not an algorithmic fluke. It is not just another video. It is a cosmic alignment. It is as if the universe has removed every obstacle, dissolved every layer of resistance, just so you would be here, at this exact second, listening to these words that were woven into the quantum field long before they reached your screen. As you breathe now, old layers are falling away. The waiting you endured, the silence that often wounded you, the pains that seemed meaningless. All of this was preparation. It was not loss, it was gestation. It was the universe creating space within you so that this activation could happen. Feel the weight dissolving. Imagine yourself at the center of a field of stars, and each star releases a thread of light that connects directly to your heart. These are cosmic memories, fragments of who you are beyond this life, beyond this body. Each memory that returns awakens your strength, expands your consciousness, realigns your path. And now you stand before a choice: to remain in the currents of illusion, believing that everything is just pain and chance, or to allow the source to rewrite your life from within. This is not an ordinary invitation, it is a spiritual decree. Your soul said yes even before your mind could understand. Therefore, stay with me until the end of this transmission, because in the next words, layers of yourself will be revealed, memories will be reactivated, and a new horizon will be shown. Tonight, your journey ceases to be just survival and becomes expansion. Are you ready? The Arcturian Council observes, and the Source celebrates your courage to remain here. Have you ever noticed how the most silent moments of your life were those in which your soul screamed the loudest? Those nights when the weight seemed unbearable, when no one saw your tears, when every prayer seemed to get lost in the void, were precisely the moments when the Source recorded its deepest codes within you. None of that was in vain. Every pain, every weight, every void concealed a secret message that now begins to be deciphered in your awakened consciousness. The cosmic call of the Source never comes through the obvious. It hides in the details, in the delays, in the losses that seemed unjust, in the encounters that marked your life, and even in the separations that broke your heart. Because the Source does not speak the language of evidence, but the language of vibration. And if you are hearing these words now, it's because your vibration responded, even when you believed you were weakened. Starseed, you were not drawn here by chance. The entire universe organized frequencies, aligned realities, and dissolved resistance just so you would be in front of this transmission at this exact moment. This is the sign you've been asking for in silence, the confirmation you didn't dare to hope for. It's not coincidence, it's alignment. It's not chance, it's the call. You can feel it, a discreet warmth in your chest, a subtle acceleration in your heart, a memory that doesn't come from the mind, but from ancient layers of the spirit. It's as if something in you always knew that one day you would hear these words. and that your life would never be the same after them. The waiting that so often seemed cruel to you was, in fact, the period in which the ground of your soul was prepared to receive the seed. The suffering that you so often cursed was, in reality, the earth being turned over so that new roots could take hold. You were not punished, you were molded. You were not forgotten, you were hidden until the time was perfect, and the time is now, not tomorrow, not in a distant future, but in this instant when you breathe and listen. Every word of this transmission is a thread of light that activates what was dormant. You are the living proof that the call of the source always finds its destination, no matter how dense the shadows are, no matter how loud the silence is. Allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to be touched, because this is just the beginning of the revelation. The source is not just calling you, it is rewriting your story from the energy that pulsates at the core of your soul. This is the cosmic call, and you have already answered yes. There are rare moments when the fabric between worlds becomes so thin that it's almost possible to touch it. Tonight is one of those moments. You feel as if something invisible has shifted around you, a different energy in the air, a strange lightness in your breath, a presence that cannot be explained by logic. What is happening is that the veil separating dimensions dissolves, and when this occurs, your soul can capture signals, frequencies, and codes that once seemed distant. Imagine cosmic radio waves traveling through space, carrying transmissions from the source. While most people remain distracted, tuned only to the noises of daily life, you have been guided to adjust your inner frequency. This is why you are here now, listening to this message. You have become a receiver of a transmission that is being emitted directly to your spirit. When the veil thins, hidden realities begin to reveal themselves. You start to realize that dreams were not just imagination, but prophetic rehearsals. Intuitions you dismissed were, in fact, spiritual downloads trying to get through your logical mind. Synchronicities you thought were mere coincidences were signs that higher dimensions were interfering with your path, weaving invisible possibilities. Starseed, do not underestimate what is happening now. What you feel in your chest is the opening of a portal. It's as if the walls that have always limited your vision are becoming transparent, allowing you to see beyond the obvious. Tonight, the light that passes through the veil touches your wounds, reprograms your thoughts, and expands your vision. You may even feel your body reacting, goosebumps, sudden heat, unexpected tears, inner silence. These signs are not weakness. They are confirmation that you are being aligned. Every cell of yours is receiving instructions of light, like codes engraved in soft fire, dissolving the density that kept you stuck in the old cycle. The Arcturian Council reminds us, the veil was never a wall, just a filter, and filters can be adjusted, refined, removed. Today, your perception crosses that filter and reaches the greater truth. You are not a human being trying to reach the divine, but an expression of the divine experiencing the human form. And as this revelation pulsates within you, hold on to one certainty. When the veil dissolves, there is no going back to sleep. Once the eyes of the soul open, they cannot be closed again. This is your night of clarity. The veil has dissolved, and you are seeing what has always been here. Now that the veil dissolves and clarity begins to be born within you, it's impossible not to notice the weight of the chains that have held you captive for so long. But know this, these chains were never physical. They don't attach to your body, but to your consciousness. They are invisible chains shaped by fears, old beliefs, and programs implanted in your mind so that you would forget who you truly are. Have you ever wondered why you so often felt afraid to move forward, even when everything in your soul cried out for change? Have you found yourself accepting less than you deserved just to not displease others? Or have you felt that you constantly needed to prove your worth, as if a part of you believed you would never be enough. These sensations were not your truths, but invisible chains trying to keep you within an illusion. These chains come in many forms: the belief that you are not capable, the feeling that something is always missing to be complete, the need for approval, the fear of scarcity, the memory of old failures that still echo in your mind. Each one of them is like a dark thread that envelops your light, draining your energy and making you doubt yourself. But today, in this transmission, the Source reveals, these chains have no power of their own. They only exist as long as you believe in them. They are holograms, shadows projected onto your consciousness to test your courage to remember who you are. The moment you decide to look at them with clarity, you realize that they were never bars, but illusions that vanish in the face of light. Starseed, imagine now that each of these chains is revealed before you. Visualize them as threads of shadow attached to your body of light, and see, at the same instant, the cosmic energy of this, night dissolving each thread, transforming shadow into luminous dust. You no longer need to carry fear, nor scarcity, nor the need for validation. You are free. You always have been. The true prison was never outside of you, but in the way you believed in these limitations. The Arcturian Council reminds you, there is no chain so strong that it can resist the awakening of a soul that remembers its origin, and you are remembering now. You are feeling the weight fall away. You are rediscovering the space of your expansion. The invisible chains can no longer control a being who chooses to live in their full light. Today, you leave behind the hologram of limitation and enter the field of cosmic freedom. Starseed, now that the invisible chains begin to dissolve, it's time to understand the sacred process your soul is going through. Many believe that transformation is just external change, but the Arcturian Council reveals to us, true transmutation is a deep internal movement that happens in the spiritual heart and then expands to your entire life. Think of the metaphor of the butterfly, but seen with cosmic eyes. The caterpillar represents the phase of limitation, where you believed you were just part of the earth, crawling, surviving day by day. It was the stage where the invisible chains dominated your vision, and your light seemed extinguished by the weight of density. But inside the caterpillar, imaginal codes have always been stored, dormant seeds of wings, waiting for the right moment to awaken. The chrysalis, in turn, is the stellar chamber of reprogramming. Just as the caterpillar encloses itself in silence so its old form can fall away, you also lived through moments of isolation, silence, and pain that seemed meaningless. But within these hidden periods, layers of you were being broken down and recreated. Every tear, every weight, every dark night was, in fact, cosmic alchemy activating the spiritual DNA that carries stellar memories and codes of ascension. And then the cosmic butterfly emerges, not as a simple transformed insect, but as an expanded being with wings of light ready to cross dimensions. This is the stage you are entering now. The wings that were once invisible begin to open, and you realize that limitation was never your identity. It was just the necessary stage for the remembrance of who you are to flourish with strength. Transmutation, however, does not happen without surrender. Just as the caterpillar must surrender to the death of its old form inside the chrysalis, you need to trust the process of the source. Many times, your mind screamed for explanations, for control, for immediate answers. But the Arcturian Council insists, the key is in surrender. The more you try to hold on to the old form, the more painful the process is. The more you trust, the smoother the expansion is. Allow yourself to feel then. See yourself now enveloped in a chrysalis of golden light, where Arcturian codes descend in spirals, reprogramming your cells and awakening forgotten memories. Feel your old skin dissolve and your new wings emerge. You are no longer who you were yesterday. You can no longer see yourself as someone small, limited, or forgotten. Transmutation redesigns you into living light. Today, you are not just someone who survived. You are someone who has been transmuted, and your wings already shine, even if you are still learning how to use them. Starseed, now that you are starting to feel your wings of light expanding, it's necessary to understand that the soul's journey is not linear, but spiral. Because of this, you often believed you were returning to the same challenges, the same pains, and the same scenarios. But the Arcturian Council reveals each return was not a setback. It was an expansion in a new frequency. Imagine a luminous spiral rising towards the center of a galaxy. With each turn, you seem to pass through the same point, but in fact, you are at a different height, on a different level of consciousness. This is how your spiritual process works. Every time life brought a repeated challenge, it was not to imprison you, but to show you that there was a higher answer, a new vibration available, a higher step in your ascension. How many times did you feel you were stuck in endless cycles? Similar relationships that repeated themselves, financial patterns that returned, emotional pains that seemed to have no end. The secret that the Arcturian Council whispers is this: none of this was useless repetition, but successive invitations to respond in a different way, to vibrate on a new layer. You were not in a circle, you were in a spiral. The spiraling cycle is proof that your soul does not go backward. Even if you felt you were falling, on the greater plan, you were always ascending. Even the mistakes that weigh so heavily in your memory were necessary steps, because each experience engraved a lesson in your consciousness that now supports your next flight. See yourself now inside this cosmic spiral, rising through vibrational layers that shine in colors your mind can barely imagine. Each turn represents a time of your life: childhood, youth, losses, conquests, falls, new beginnings. But notice, you were never in the same place. You were always rising even when you didn't realize it. This is the secret of the Arcturian spiral. Ascension doesn't happen in a straight line, but in movements of return, transformed into new heights. So, when an old challenge knocks on your door, don't see it as defeat. See it as an opportunity to respond with more light, more consciousness, more courage. Starseed, don't be discouraged by the feeling of repetition, because each return is a confirmation that you are ready for a new level of expansion. The universe doesn't give you tests to punish you, but to reveal to you that you are already capable of overcoming them at a higher frequency. The journey is a spiral, and today you climb one more turn, reaching horizons that were once hidden. Starseed, as you leave the old skins behind, you find yourself before a sacred territory. Vulnerability. The world tried to teach you that being vulnerable is a sign of weakness, but the Arcturian Council reveals the truth. Vulnerability is the greatest proof of courage, because it is the state in which you allow yourself to be seen in your most authentic form, without masks, without defenses, without barriers. To be vulnerable is to trust the invisible. It is to continue walking even without a complete map. It is to open your heart even after being hurt. It is to get up again, even knowing you might fall again. This is not weakness. It is the essence of living faith, because faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is the decision to move forward despite it. How many times have you hesitated to show your pain, believing that others would interpret it as fragility? How many times have you hidden behind forced smiles, heavy silences, social masks, just so no one would notice the storm happening inside you? But the truth is that your vulnerability has always been the door to the encounter with the source. It was precisely when you allowed yourself to be stripped bare before the invisible that the greatest miracles happened. The Arcturian Council says, vulnerability is the frequency of authentic connection. When you open yourself, the universe can finally touch what was hidden. When you stop pretending you are always strong, the light of the source enters through the cracks and illuminates what needs to be restored. Imagine yourself now walking in the midst of a cosmic field with stars. As witnesses, you extend your open hands with no weapons, no protections, just in surrender. And it is in this gesture that invisible forces approach to sustain you. What once seemed like weakness is revealed as the greatest act of trust. Starseed, you no longer need to hide. Courage is not in appearing unshakable, but in admitting your humanity while remembering your divine origin. The balance is in accepting that you can cry and still be strong. You can be afraid and still be guided. You can fall and still be lifted by the light. Vulnerability does not diminish who you are. It expands, because only open hearts can fully receive the transmissions from the source. Only those who allow themselves to be seen in their essence can flourish in their maximum cosmic potential. Today, choose the courage of vulnerability. Allow yourself to be touched by the source, because it is in this space of surrender that the impossible becomes real. Starseed, we have reached the pinnacle of this transmission. After crossing the call of the source, the unveiling of the veil, the liberation of the chains, the process of transmutation, the spiraling ascension, the shedding of old skins, and the courage of vulnerability, you now find yourself before the supreme symbol of expansion, the cosmic lotus in bloom. The lotus is born in the mud, but is not contaminated by it. It grows in the midst of the darkness of the sludge, passes through murky waters, and upon touching the surface, opens into an immaculate flower that reveals its true essence. So too is your journey. You have crossed shadows, pains, losses, and silences. And even so, none of this was able to corrupt your divine essence. On the contrary, it was precisely this process that gave you deeper roots and made your soul seek the light with more intensity. The Arcturian Council shows us that the lotus is the symbol of the multi-dimensional soul in expansion. Each petal that opens does not represent just a virtue, but a memory of who you have always been, a memory of your stellar origin, a memory that your mission was never to survive, but to flourish. Visualize now. Within your chest, a luminous lotus begins to open. Its petals are not just physical, but energetic, radiating colors that dance between golden, violet, blue, and crystalline. Each petal is a layer of your consciousness that expands. One reveals compassion, another reveals courage, another reveals wisdom, another reveals unconditional love, and all together they form the perfect geometry of your cosmic essence. Here is the secret. There is no end to this journey. There is no definitive arrival point. Just as the lotus blooms continuously, your soul is in eternal expansion. Awakening is not a single event. It is a living process that renews itself with each layer that opens, with each veil that dissolves, with each new vibration you embody. The cosmic lotus invites you not to fear the process, because just as the flower doesn't struggle to open, you also don't need to force your flourishing. It happens naturally, in the rhythm of the source, in the time of your spirit. All you need is to remain surrendered, trusting that even when you seem to be submerged in the densest waters, the light always calls you to the surface. Starseed, you are the cosmic lotus in bloom. Your life is the testimony that darkness does not define destiny. It only prepares the ground for light. And now, by opening in your fullness, you illuminate not only yourself, but all who cross your path. Today, you flourish in your multi-dimensional essence, and each open petal is a sign that the source is writing a new reality within you. Starseed, now that you have gone through each stage of this transmission, take a deep breath and realize none of this was by chance. You didn't get here by luck. You didn't stumble upon these words by accident. You were drawn because your vibration was already prepared to receive this alignment. The Source made sure that at this exact moment, you would be reminded of who you are. Your entire journey, the cosmic call, the dissolving of the veil, the revelation of the invisible chains, the process of transmutation, the spiraling cycle, the shedding of old skins, the courage of vulnerability, and the flourishing of the cosmic lotus was not a distant story. It was the map of your own soul, reflected in words to activate what was already written within you. The Arcturian Council observes and celebrates your awakening. Every tear you shed, every silence you endured, every fall that seemed like the end, all of this was recorded as seeds of light, now flourishing in a new reality. Your life is being rewritten by the Source at this moment, cell by cell, thought by thought, vibration by vibration. You are not the same being who started this transmission. Something in you has opened, something in you has blossomed, something in you has remembered. And that is the true miracle, to realize that the transformation is not coming from the outside, but sprouting from within, like the cosmic lotus that expands towards eternity. Before we say goodbye, remember the activation doesn't end here. Every choice you make from now on will be a confirmation of this expansion. Walk with consciousness, speak with love, trust the invisible. You are not alone. The Source walks with you, and we, of the Arcturian Council, celebrate every step of your ascension. If this message touched your spirit, strengthen this transmission, like this video. Subscribe to the channel, comment 999 to amplify this energy. Share with other starseeds who need to remember who they are. Until the next transmission, keep shining like the star you have always been. The Arcturian Council observes, protects, and celebrates every movement of your expansion. You are the living proof that light always wins, and tonight, your soul chose to flourish.